Hello, and welcome to the Northwest Cavalryman Show, the podcast where your host, Rick Skolrud, discusses politics and news from Canada, the United States, and around the world, from a conservative perspective. Warning: professionally offended people and liberal crybabies may be triggered. Viewer discretion is advised. While we put the finishing touches on this podcast, you are invited to visit the show notes. There are links to all of Rick's social media, including his website where you can sign up to take the Canadian Firearms Safety Course, which is a prerequisite for obtaining your Canadian Firearms License, also known as a PAL. Rick teaches these courses in Maple Bay just east of Duncan on Vancouver Island, British Columbia. Now here's your host, Rick Skolrud.
Hey everybody, how you doing tonight? And welcome to my show. So tonight, I'm going to talk about a few things. Primarily, we're going to laugh at Randy. Why not? Just laugh at Randy because it's better than just being mad. You know what I'm saying? Because he's just, well, a real terrible person and he's screwing up our country. So might as well laugh at him instead of being, I don't know, just angry all the time. So, but before we get that, just to let a few people tune in, let's talk about football. Oh my God. Hello, Jennifer. So I guess some people didn't like my comment, "Go Bombers," in my little Sunday impromptu short there. It was, the last couple of weeks were kind of a little disappointing for us Westerners out here. Of course, most Westerners, I think we all have our home team, like my home team, is BC because I grew up in BC, and I don't know if it's like this everywhere in the West, but everybody I seem to know, their second most favorite team in the West, if they're Westerners, are the Rough Riders. So of course, when the Rough Riders beat BC, a little bit disappointed, but okay, Rough Riders are going to go to the second Banjo Bowl, and of course, then the Rough Riders lose. So of course, I'm still a Westerner, so I want the Blue Bombers to win, and then they lose. Talk about 3 weeks of just, being let down by football. But football isn't everything. I know I probably shouldn't say that because it is. But anyway, it is what it is, right? Let me know, what are your favorite football teams? I assume that your favorite team is the team closest to you, in the CFL, if you follow football. And if not, what is your secondary team? Because I hadn't really thought about it before, but I think out in the West here, a lot of us do have a secondary team, and usually that secondary team is the Riders. I don't know why. It's just, Rider Nation. They say. I could be wrong. Maybe there's a lot of people who don't like the Riders. So Mother is from Montreal. She likes the Alouettes. They are sometimes a pretty good team. You never know. All right. So, hey, good evening, Brad, and thank you for that. So let's talk about Randy. But which Randy should we talk about? Should we talk about the burglar Randy, Randburglar? I mean, he's stealing all of our money, right? Or maybe we should just talk about Crooked Randy, the guy that shows up in Parliament every day, or you never know. Maybe we should talk about the other Randy, the Randy nobody knows who he is. He's got that disguise on. Or maybe we should talk about this Randy.
I'm a natural born child.
You mean I'm gonna stay this color?
Confused Randy. He thinks he's a native guy and Indigenous. Well, hey, I don't know, Randy. Just leave. Just leave. But I was thinking about the. I'm gonna play the CTV thing again because I want to pick something out of that CTV clip that I think I didn't really miss, but I kind of glossed over, and I want to talk about it because I think it's kind of important. And I showed this clip in one of my long form videos earlier this week, but I think it's worth discussing. So let's take a look at this.
Ella, you're absolutely right. There is breaking news. Employment Minister and MP for Edmonton, Randy Boissonnault, according to the Prime Minister's spokesperson, have agreed that Mr. Boissonnault, the Prime Minister and Minister Boissonnault have agreed that Mr. Boissonnault will step away from cabinet effective immediately. The statement goes on to say Mr. Boissonnault will focus on clearing the allegations made against him. Minister Jeanette Petitbat-Taylor will temporarily assume responsibility as Minister of Employment, Workforce Development and Official Languages, in addition to her role already as Minister of Veterans Affairs. A very, very brief, you can see, statement here from the Prime Minister's office simply saying that Employment Minister Randy Boissonnault is stepping aside from cabinet effective right now. And that he's going to focus, he says, on clearing the allegations against him. Let me provide some background here because we have been talking for the past few days about how scrutiny on the minister has really been increasing by the minute. He apologized late last week for what he has characterized as sort of shifting claims where his own heritage is concerned. He has identified as Cree at one point, adopted by a Cree grandmother, as well as Métis. He's used different sort of iterations of that in different instances. And that all came to light over the past few weeks, largely due to reporting by the National Post. He was forced to apologize. The Prime Minister, I'm told, actually just walked into question period right now. This message, this statement announcing Boissonnault's resignation, timed very much so that the Prime Minister, in the Liberals' views, I imagine, would not have to endure tons of questions about why the minister had not yet resigned. In any event, those questions around what Minister Boissonnault had said or hadn't said around his own heritage have just come to a boil. Yesterday, the NDP joined the Conservatives in very specifically calling on the minister to resign. I should say that the minister insists there's no wrongdoing on his part, that he has said that he has confusion over his identity. Like I said, he apologized last week for that confusion in the way that he termed it. But I think it's also important to say that's not the whole story, right? It's not just about how he's presented himself. It's that he was co-owned a company that at one point bid on federal contracts, calling itself Indigenous owned. He claimed that was the work of his business partner. He wasn't aware of it, but that they were able to access certain federal contracts because they labeled themselves as Indigenous owned. That's part and parcel of all of this as well, and sort of adding to the scrutiny and the calls from the opposition for him to resign. Now, just yesterday morning, Ella, the Prime Minister was asked if he was okay with Randy Boissonnault staying in cabinet. He was in Brazil at the G20. He said that he was happy with the work that Minister Boissonnault had done on his files on jobs, on the economy, on the workforce, and on Alberta, which is, of course, he's the only cabinet minister representing Alberta around the table. And then just over 24 hours later now, it sounds like it's a very different story. So we are paying attention as question period gets underway, as ministers come in and out, and really whether the Prime Minister adds anything to this.
Yeah, so did you catch that? What the thing that I found interesting is that they said he's going to step aside. So it doesn't mean he's actually resigning from cabinet or that he's being kicked out of cabinet. And I think that's an important little thing to note, because they get a lot of money, extra money, for being a cabinet minister. So if he's stepping aside, what does that mean? They're not replacing him. They're not giving his post to somebody else. So does that mean that he is still getting paid his cabinet funds? He's just not going to be doing his cabinet duties? I think that it's just one of those things that with this government, with all the scandals, with all the corruption, I'm skeptical. I'm always skeptical of what this government is doing. And the fact that they didn't say he's resigning, that he's not stepping down, they said he's stepping aside, for the time being. That to me just sounds a bit corrupt. I don't know, like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reading too much into this. What do you guys think? Am I being a little bit too, I don't know, paranoid there? I think it just doesn't sit well with me. Now, you know, especially this Randy here, because come on, man. He's got all this money that he's taken out of our system. And I just don't trust him. I think that Randy should be put in jail. So, I'll see that skeptical and raise it to a disgusting. Yes. Hello, Michael. Tracy. Yeah, I agree. So, a few other things I wanted to discuss. I could ramble on about Randy and, you know, how I would just like to see him behind bars, or even, you know, worse. But he's confused. He's a confused Randy, right? He doesn't know if he's Indigenous or if he's, I don't know what, you know, probably doesn't even know what gender he is. But he is confused Randy now. So they go from crooked Randy to burglar Randy or Randburglar Randy to the other Randy, and now he's confused Randy. And, you know, he's still a thief. He's still stealing from us, and he should be in jail. So one of the other things I got to thinking of, this is a little older stuff. This is it's not really all that old. It's a couple of weeks old. It happened just before Remembrance Day, the week before. And what it was, I don't know if you remember a couple months back, Lauren Chen, she used to go by the handle Roaming Millennial. She got into a bit of hot water in the US, which will probably mean that she'll never, ever be a social media influencer or whatever you call those people, because she is accused of being a Russian asset, which really is a bunch of hooey. If you watched any of, I don't know if any of you follow Viva Barnes. Viva is Viva Fry. He's an ex lawyer from Montreal, and he does all sorts of live podcasts on Rumble and YouTube out of Florida now. And he does this live stream with another lawyer, a current lawyer called Barnes, and they were talking about this. And distinguished? Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, Michael. So basically, I read the indictment, and I didn't see where they're actually charging Lauren or that they could charge her for anything other than possibly some sort of a misrepresentation, like a fraud, or a we used to call it. Geez, I had the word at the tip of my tongue here just before the podcast, but basically, she misrepresented where she was getting the money from. But I don't even know if that applies, because did it cause anybody to invest in anything or lose anything? So what we're talking about here is a few months ago, Tenant Media, which is a company that Lauren Chen and her husband started after apparently Lauren was let go from a previous company, The Blaze, where she had a podcast. I'm not sure why. I don't follow her all that much, to be honest. I watched a few of her shows way back when she was going by Roaming Millennial. Then she got a little bit kind of off the rails for me. Like, not that I have anything against what she says, but I just never really followed her. And also, she did whole bunch of stuff with, basically cultural stuff, like, girly stuff, and obviously not something I'm interested in. So she got into trouble because she was getting all this money from this foreign source that turned out to probably be RT, or Russia Today, which is a television channel which is now banned in the United States and Canada. It wasn't banned. I think they were only banned in the last year or year and a half or so. So they got banned, and apparently she had done some stuff for them before, and they were giving her money. But the indictment doesn't really show that she knew where the money was coming from. It shows that she had some sort of investor from Europe, from Western Europe, and that she was encouraged to get these two social media guys on board, Dave Rubin and Tim, can't remember his name. I don't know why I can't remember his name. I know his name, but two big Timcast. He does Timcast or whatever, to get them on board, and she started paying them, and it turns out it ended up being money from RT, or at least that's what the Justice Department says. They're not charging her. They are not charging her, which is or at least they haven't yet. But they can't charge her with being a foreign agent because she really wasn't. Now, what Viva and Barnes were talking about on their podcast was that the law that they're using against RT, or these two supposed RT employees, isn't really meant to be used that way. It doesn't mean it can't be, because once a law is on the books, as long as it's written in such a way that it applies, it doesn't really matter why it was written, you can still apply it that way. But in the US especially, it's a little bit more difficult to do that, because the purpose of the law comes into play. So what happened there was that law was meant to be a law regarding the influence of congressmen and senators by people who were agents of a foreign government. Well, that doesn't apply here, because this is all social media. This is all people expressing their opinions. And so somebody pays them to express their opinions. Where does that money come from? Does that even matter? Did that change their opinions? And then there's a whole argument, well, is it or isn't it misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, all these euphemisms that, they're lies, right? They want to say that they're lies, but they don't want to say that they're lies because they can't prove that they're lies. So they make up all these other words. So with that, there's a lot of things that I think is interesting. One of the things is Lauren Chen went to this or appeared before committee on the 5th. And I want to play a couple of things from that. And then I want to talk about that, because it's interesting. First off, it's interesting that the politicians have no idea what they're talking about as far as certain laws are concerned. But also, it's interesting why she did what she did at committee. So let's go to a couple of clips here.
Pursuant to Standing Order 108 Sub 2 and the motion adopted on September 19th, 2024, the committee resumes its study of Russian interference and disinformation campaigns in Canada. I would now like to welcome our witness today, Ms. Lauren Chen. Welcome.
Yeah. Now, the only reason I actually played that clip is I thought the expression on her face, the expression on her face, she did not want to be there. But here's the question. Did she have to be there? I'm going to play this next clip. This is her opening statement. And there's a few things in that opening statement I think I want to address here, because it almost shows that the Canadian government may be overstepping their bounds. I don't know for sure, because I'm not 100% up on the procedures of Parliament and all of their powers. They have a lot of powers, but it seems to me like they may be overstepping their boundaries here. And here's her statement, her opening statement.
I now invite Ms. Chen to make an opening statement of up to 5 minutes. Please go ahead, Ms. Chen.
Seeing as how my lawyer is not going to be able to speak, we do request that this opening statement, which we have also submitted in writing, be filed as an exhibit to speak for itself.
Is the committee in agreement with this? Yes? Okay. Very well. Go ahead.
Honorable members of this committee and clerk of the committee, LaRose, I am here today as required by the summons delivered to me. My understanding is you wish to ask me questions about a subject you are studying with a view of making recommendations as part of your legislative role. My understanding is that the subject you are studying is, quote, Russian interference and disinformation campaigns in Canada, end quote. In principle, I have no issue testifying before your committee. However, as you know, Canada and the United States are democratic countries that value civil rights. One right, which is particularly important, is the presumption of innocence and its companion right to remain silent. Both Canada and the United States strongly value the right to be free from self-incrimination. Presently, I am a target of a criminal investigation in the case of the United States v. Kalashnikov, 24 CR 519, Southern District, New York, 2024. As such, I am entitled to certain protections given to me under the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution, which provides that I cannot be forced to potentially incriminate myself while testifying under oath. After consulting with counsel, both in Canada and the United States, I have concluded on their advice that answering questions from this committee could reasonably provide a, quote, link in the chain toward a possible indictment against me with respect to the above-mentioned or related proceedings. I recognize that the difficulty is that the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution does not apply in Canada. I am aware that I have no right to plead the Fifth before this committee. I've been advised, and I do believe, the one policy reason behind Canada's lack of protection, similar to the American Fifth Amendment, is that Canada has a different form of protection located within Section 13 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which provides that if I testify in proceedings, I have the right not to have any incriminating evidence so given to be used to incriminate me in other proceedings, subject to exceptions that would not apply here. This is how the American protection against self-incrimination is not formally recognized in Canada. However, Section 13 of the Charter is not formally recognized in the United States, and so it would not be of assistance to me should I accede to answering any questions. Accordingly, it is with the above considerations in mind that I must indicate that I will not answer any questions posed to me once I appear before this committee. I note in taking this position that Section 7 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms protects me in situations where Section 13 does not apply, where life, liberty, or security interests are at stake. Considering the investigation taking place in respect of Kalashnikov, I verily believe that my refusal to answer questions is lawful and protected under Section 7 of the Charter. I also assert respectfully that in the relatively unique circumstances in which I find myself, Section 2D of the Canadian Bill of Rights, SC 1960 C44, as well as the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, to which Canada is a signatory, protect my refusal to testify. Please note that my refusal is contingent solely on my legitimate concerns about possible self-incrimination. Once the investigation has been completed and it is determined that there may be no future proceedings taken against me in respect of that or related matters, I wish that this honorable committee be aware that I would be willing to reattend before it and answer all questions on such issues.
Okay, so that was her opening statement. And now I see, Sorry Not My Prob states that he believes she is a bad actor 100%. Doesn't believe a word she says. I don't know, but here's the thing. What did she do that was a crime? False pretenses. That was the word I was looking at before. False pretenses could apply if she induced somebody to give her something, some material goods or some material benefit. But I don't even know that really applies. But I mean, regardless, it's a U.S. law that she apparently is being investigated for, but she's not being charged. And the influence thing is not an issue. If you look at Viva Barnes, and those are two lawyers. I've been around the legal system for a long time, but I'm not a lawyer, so I can't say for sure. It's just I don't think that I would ever get an approval for a charge based on the information that I've heard regarding this. So some points that she made there. She's covered under the Fifth Amendment if she's in the U.S., and she is physically in the U.S. against testifying. Second, she said she was summoned, which is curious because unless Ontario law is different, in BC and Alberta, you don't summons witnesses, you subpoena them. Summonses are for people who have been charged with a crime, and she's not been charged with a crime. Now, it could be different because of parliamentary procedure. Maybe they use different words and have different procedures. Maybe it is a summons under parliamentary procedure. I don't know. However, I found that curious because she's not charged with anything, and they didn't say subpoenaed, they said summoned. And that may sound like it's nitpicky, but if you're not charged with something, you get subpoenaed, like to be a witness. You don't get summoned. So that's a bit of an issue. But the other thing is, she's in Tennessee. And I think most of this stuff happened in Tennessee. So why is she charged why is the investigation occurring in the Southern District of New York? I don't know. This seems strange to me. But the other thing is, how did they go through the proper procedure to summon somebody from who is physically in a foreign country? Because it's not that easy. It's not just you type up a summons or a subpoena and get it certified by the court and then served on them. It's not that. There's a procedure to go through. I'm sure that Parliament has done this enough that they know what procedure to follow, and she did feel like she was obligated to attend, at least virtually, over Zoom. So presumably it was done correctly, but I don't know. The fact that she said it was a summons instead of a subpoena raises a few questions. So she doesn't want to be there. And she did say, though, that she would be there if all of the investigation is concluded in the U.S. And she's no longer facing any sort of criminal liability, which, I mean, you could argue, well, innocent people don't act like that. But I think if recent events has taught us anything, you don't have to be innocent for one side of the political spectrum to go after you and really treat you like a criminal. Whether she's a criminal or not, I don't know. I don't know enough about I've read the indictment, and the indictment does not name her as somebody who's being charged. But there may be another indictment that's out there that's come out since. And the influence stuff, I don't think really applies. And Viva Barnes pointed this out very succinctly, is that a lot of times what the Justice Department will do in cases like this is they will lay a get out of town charge, a get out of the country charge. And what that means is, and Toronto PD used to do this all the time, Toronto Police Service, and you would find this. Whenever we arrested somebody in Alberta, there would be a get out of town warrant on them. So basically, Toronto would have a warrant out for somebody, but it's only enforceable within 50 kilometers of the city limits of Toronto. So they're not going to return anybody who's further out than 50 kilometers from the city of Toronto. Basically, it means get out of town and don't come back. Get out of Dodge, basically is what it is. And how, and that would be for anything, but so how Viva Frei and I think it's Robert Barnes described this, it sounds like the same kind of thing. And they don't expect to ever have to prosecute this and ever have to prove it in court. They just don't want these people back in the United States because they're not U.S. citizens. They're from Russia, and they don't expect them to ever return to the United States. And this is a guarantee that they won't return, because if they do, they could face charges, potentially. But there's also the possibility that they may call the bluff and say, yeah, okay, here we are, charge us. And Viva Barnes are of the opinion that if that were to ever happen, the indictment would be quashed. They would just stay the charges. Is that true? Is it not? I don't know. It sounds probable, because I know for sure we do that in Canada. We have the get out of town warrants, the get out of town charges. You're 50 kilometers from the city limits of Toronto. That's a get out of Dodge warrant. We don't want you back here. And that sounds like what they're doing with these people who are charged under this act, which doesn't seem to apply, according to Viva Barnes, doesn't seem to apply. So later on, and I watched all of her testimony, which is basically, I'm not saying anything, I'm not testifying, I'm not answering questions because of this. I think what she should have done, if she really wanted to cooperate, is says, okay, I will testify under two conditions. First, it's in camera. In camera means basically no observers. And second, everybody signs an NDA saying you can use this for parliamentary purposes, but you can't publish it. And you can't say what I said publicly. And that way she would have been covered under the Fifth Amendment, basically. So I think that she should have done that. But whether the parliamentary committee would have accepted that, I don't know. I would have brought it up to my lawyer and asked, hey, is this something that is practical? Is it something that's doable? Because I think it might be. I think it might have been a good way to handle it. So now, after a little bit, she goes on and, or not, she doesn't go on, but this liberal comes on and makes a pretty stupid statement. Now, I get it. He's not actually trying to state something factual. He's trying to make a point, and he's making a political point. And I personally think that political points made with truly criminal elements or other politicians is fine. But I'm not sure that you call a witness and you start making political points like this. Take a listen at this.
Mr. Smith, please. 1 minute.
Thanks very much. Ms. Chen, obviously you aren't answering questions here, so I'll start with a really, really, really easy one. Is Russia a foreign adversary to Canada, in your view?
For the reasons already given at this time, I have no comment.
You've previously said, and I quote, "I don't believe in democracy." Is that still your view?
For the reasons already given, I have no comment.
My last question, your brand of politics tends to label pretty near everyone that opposes your views as traitors. So what would you call someone who accepts $10 million from a foreign adversary to run a covert propaganda operation on behalf of that foreign adversary? What would you call that person?
For the reasons already given, I have no comment.
Well, I will answer it then. You would call that person a traitor. The floor is yours.
Okay, so he calls her a traitor. He says she's committing treason. But, this guy's an idiot. Now, I know he's making a political point, but it just so happens that I've pulled up Treason on the website. And this is the law website, the Justice Laws website. So here is the definition of treason in Canada. There's treason and there's high treason. So high treason, now obviously this has not been updated since Queen Elizabeth II passed away, but doesn't really matter. It still has the same, still does the same. So high treason, section 46, sub 1 of the Criminal Code. Everyone commits high treason who, in Canada, paragraph A, kills or attempts to kill Her Majesty, now His Majesty, or does her any bodily harm tending to death or destruction, maims or wounds her, or imprisons or restrains her. Paragraph B, levies war against Canada or does any act preparatory thereto, or assists an enemy at war with Canada or any armed forces, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't really apply. Obviously, that doesn't apply. What about treason? Well, treason, everyone commits treason who, in Canada, uses force or violence for the purpose of overthrowing the government of Canada or a province. No force or violence was used. Does not apply. Paragraph B, without lawful authority, communicates or makes available to an agent of a state other than Canada, military or specific or scientific information or any sketch, plan, model, article, note, or document of a military or scientific character that he knows or ought to know may be used by that state for a purpose prejudicial to the safety or defense of Canada. Doesn't apply. C, conspires with any person to commit high treason or to do anything mentioned in paragraph A. Again, does not apply. D, forms an intention to do anything that is high treason or is mentioned in paragraph A. Again, does not apply. E, conspires with any person to do anything mentioned in paragraph B. Paragraph B, or forms an intention to do anything mentioned in paragraph B and manifests that intention by an overt act. Again, does not apply. And then it goes on to Canadian citizens in Canada, outside Canada, all the rest of that. So, what the heck is he talking about other than showboating and, talking out of his hat, basically? I'd say talking out of something else, but I don't want to get thrown off the internet. Clearly, that is just for show. She is not committing treason. Her platform, what she's doing on her platform is considered free speech. She's not forcing anybody to say anything. Is that contrary to what the Liberals and the Democrats want you to hear? Absolutely. But does that mean you shouldn't be able to say it? The Friends of Voltaire would say, I may disagree with you, vehemently disagree with you, but I will defend your right to say whatever you're going to say. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing off the top of my head. So, that's the thing, right? Like you can't just pull this stuff out of thin air and say that somebody is committing treason. It's not treason. And he's in he's got parliamentary privilege. He can say pretty much anything he wants there. Can't be held against him. He can just be a complete jerk when he's liberal, so goes without saying. The thing is, I don't think she's done anything wrong. I think she's right to be cautious, and she's right to say she will appear before the committee again. But we're making a big deal about people speaking their minds and about expressing themselves the way they want to express themselves. and this is like, this has been going on for a long time. And I think it has to stop, because freedom of speech and freedom of expression there's a reason why they're at the top of the list of all of the freedoms that we have listed in our bills of rights and charters of rights around the world. It's because they're really important. Without that freedom, what freedoms do you have? You don't have a lot. If you can't speak your mind, if you're afraid to say, I disagree with you, I think this, even though everybody else thinks that, well, you don't have freedom. So, and you're saying, and that, well, you know, they're saying, the liberals are saying, and the Democrats are saying it's misinformation, it's malinformation, it's disinformation, all this other kind of crap, which are euphemisms for lies. They're saying they're lies, but they can't say they're lies because they could be held civilly responsible, liable for calling somebody a liar. So they use all of these other words that they make up. They seem to add a new one every year. Another euphemism for lying. So, I don't think that she is guilty of treason. Personally, I don't think so. Is she? I don't know. Did she act irresponsibly? I don't know. Maybe. Should we really care that much? Is another question. Like, really, what did she do that was so wrong? She tried to get a platform off, tried to get a platform going, and that platform that she tried to get going, turns out it didn't work out too well, right? So, how delayed am I? I'm looking at my screen here, and I have some stuff from quite a while ago coming up. I wonder how delayed I am. I got, doesn't matter. Maybe I'm watching on another monitor, and it looks like it's about 30 minutes behind for some reason. That's really weird. So, yeah, I get distracted sometimes. Sorry. My Lions lost, and I'm mad. Not really. So that's pretty much what I had tonight. I had the football rant at the top of the hour, and then I had the Randy rants, all the Randys, and then I had the freedom rant, basically, because that's what it is. It's a freedom rant. You've got people trying to. They don't like what you have to say, and they're trying to stop you from saying it. And we're going down that rabbit hole fairly quickly in Canada. There are laws that are coming, that are apparently coming to fruition in Canada soon, that will require, I don't know if it will require me. I mean, I'm just a guy, in his home studio, making commentary videos and doing a live stream once a week. I don't know if it's going to affect me, but it might, where they want podcasters to register with the government. They want us to register with the government. I think that is scary, because they're telling us that we cannot communicate directly with people, because this is a direct communication. I've got my chat screen up, and I've got you people listening to me and making comments. I find it very disturbing that the government would think that it's okay to put additional restrictions on us. They don't want to hear what we have to say, and they don't like it that we criticize them. They don't like it that we're noticing when they do really stupid and destructive things to our country, so they want to regulate us. Well, I really don't think that's a good idea. I mean, when you think about it, they're criticizing Lauren Chen for accepting money from a benefactor, which she may or may not know was Russian. And they're criticizing her for distributing false information, misinformation, malinformation, yada, yada, yada information. But what is the CBC doing? They're accepting money, and the CTV is accepting money. They say they're not, but they are, because they're accepting money from their parent company, Bell, which is accepting money from the government. So, and then they have a liberal bent or a Democratic bent, and they do talk about U.S. politics all the time, and they always have a pro-Democrat point of view. So are they then not also foreign influencers? Why aren't they under indictment? Think about that one. If we're going to come down hard on these small, independent, free media people, then why shouldn't we come down hard on the big players, the CBCs, the CTVs, the global news, and in the States, ABC, NBC, NBCSN, CBS, all the rest of that, and CNN? Why aren't you coming down on those people? You know, when it's clear that they have a political bent. And in Canada, at least, they're receiving money from the government. They're receiving money from a foreign government. You know, from the perspective of the U.S., they're receiving money from a foreign government, and they're spreading misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, false information, all this kind of BS. And yet they're coming down on somebody else for also receiving money, allegedly, and expressing opinions. And she's actually doing it a little bit more honestly than the CBC is, if you think about it, because you know when she's saying what she's saying that it's her opinion. But when the CBC does it, when the CTV does it, when Global does it, they present themselves as being unbiased reporters until you can analyze what they're saying. And a lot of people don't bother to analyze what they're saying, and the little words they use, they throw in there to show their bias. Then a lot of people just accept what they say because they're the legacy news organizations. So which is more dangerous? The legacy news organizations presenting themselves to be unbiased, but truly being biased, or a small little player on that field giving their honest opinions, or the opinions that they believe, and then you knowing that it's an opinion. You're allowed to have an opinion still. I think that the government wants to shut that down with this registering of the podcasters and all this kind of stuff. But at this point, you're still allowed to have an opinion. So, anyway, I think, geez, I didn't think I had all that much material tonight, but I've rambled on for 50 minutes. So let's go to the chat and see what I have missed while I've been rambling on. So let's see here. Hello, Harley T. I don't know if I mentioned you before, but hello from the Edmonton Elks. Likes the Edmonton Elks. So Jennifer says that Vasi looks prettier with less makeup. Like the girl next door. I mentioned that. I like her. I think that she is one of the more honest ones, but her bias does come through once in a while, and I'm not above calling her out for that. But if I'm going to watch anybody in the media, I did something here. I wouldn't mind watching Vassie and get her perspective on things. The whole STD, I think it's SDTC, not STDC. I think you got those letters mixed up, but it is kind of funny the way you did that. They should all be in jail at the hands of the police. They're a bunch of crooks. Banana Republic of Canada. We're not a republic, unfortunately. The Banana Monarchy of Canada. The Banana Dominion of whatever. JT is being blackmailed. By whom? Probably by the WEF. WEF? Yeah. Okay. Randy lied so much, sure, he is guilty. Like, I don't think Randy could tell the truth if it was, if the truth was a slimy cod and you were slapping him upside the face with it. He wouldn't know what it was. So yeah, November's gone by fast, Jennifer. I just put my Christmas lights up today. I wasn't sure I was going to get to doing the podcast because I went and bought a whole bunch of Christmas lights and I put them up, and yeah, but I found the time to get a few things together. 128 reported today. Today I missed out on a lot of things because I was doing stuff around the house. I didn't even watch question period. So if anybody saw anything in question period today that was interesting or on the news, let me know. I'm going to try and catch up tomorrow on question period and whatnot. Tracy says, person that can't listen to Viva. Oh, what is going on here? Oh, looks like I might have gone dead. Okay, no, I'm still here. Still here. It looks like I'm still here. Okay. Didn't have enough memory. The computer shut down. So I'm gonna have to call it quits soon because my computer is crapping out. But I wanted to try and get through some of this this stuff. They want to own the narrative. That's really clear. 1984. So, just quickly glancing through this before my computer dies. Obviously, because it's such an old computer, it does sometimes crap out. So I think I'm about to crap out. The computer is about to. Let's qualify that. So I'm going to. Question period was great. Karina Gould made an absolute fool of herself. Well, I'm going to have to catch that then. I don't have the energy to do it tonight. I'm going to put on some TV. Behind me here, that wall behind me here, there's a screen that comes down, and I got a projector in front of me. So and I got that set up. So I'm going to watch some. I'm going to relax. I don't have any whiskey in the house, so no worries. I'm not going to overdo it or anything. But I'm going to relax and watch a couple of non-political shows tonight. And then, yeah. I will, long live my computer, Michael, because I can't afford a new one. I need to get a new computer. But I need new carpet downstairs. I need a new ceiling upstairs that I'm going to be working on and those two things I'm going to be doing over the next probably 2 years because I can't afford to do it all at once. I still have to finish renovating the upstairs. So I'm going to moving everything downstairs in the next couple of weeks to live, basically, and then redo the upstairs bedroom, couple of walk-in closets, and the master bathroom. So a lot of work upstairs yet to do. And and then going to get to the big dollar stuff, like, the kitchen cabinets, the kitchen floor, the carpet down here. And then I'm going to, hey, you know what? If there's any contractors out there, let me know if this is a good idea. Put it down in the comments so I don't miss it. What I plan on doing is doing some cedar shiplap, sanding it down, and then oiling it with tung oil. And then when that dries, putting it up on the ceiling. It looks really nice. But is that a good idea? Let me know so I don't do anything stupid, because I sometimes do. I learn by mistake quite often. So anyway, I'm going to call it here. Thanks everybody for joining in, and I will see you. If not during the week in one of my long form videos, then next week on the live stream. Catch you later.
You've been watching the Northwest Cavalryman Show. Thank you for tuning in this evening. I hope you've enjoyed the content. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and share with your friends and on social media. May God bless you. And if you're a liberal crybaby, bless your heart. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next Thursday.